Okay, so we find ourselves at exercise number 9. And if you look at the chord progression here, we're in the key B, and the B will be the chord that it resolves to. So if you're thinking Nashville numbers, we have a major 1, a minor 2, a major 5 chord, and a minor 6. So everything that you would expect in just a straight up major scale diatonic progression. So if you look back at exercise number 4, that's very similar chords, but in B flat. So we're taking what we did in exercise 4, we're moving everything up a half step. So at exercise 4, the chords come in a little different order, so that you'd have to move shapes a little differently. So that would be a 1 minor 6, minor 2 5, and then resolve to the 1. So the reason I point that out, even if you don't know the Nashville number system and you don't know anything about theory, this is a really great way for you to start identifying harmonic movement. Because in that exercise 4, that 1 to 6 movement is incredibly common. So even you don't have to have perfect pitch, you're just going to start to develop a sense of how these chords relate to each other and how they move. And you'll start to hear things in songs. If you don't know the key, you'll just be like, oh, that's a 1 6 2 5, or that's a 1 5 6. So part of this course is working on the ear training with just these handful of chords, because these are really pretty common progressions, pretty common uses of these chords. So keep that in mind as you're practicing. You want to be listening to how these chords move into one another. So let's go ahead and talk about these neighborhoods for exercise 9. If for this first time through, we're going to start low and work our way up high and then come back down. We've done this before, and this time you'll hit each chord once for each chord progression, and then you have to move to the next neighborhood. So we're not going to hang out here. So I wanted to simplify the right hand to give your brain and your left hand a chance to figure out what chord it's going to and what shape you need to get. So let's find these neighborhoods, and then we'll go ahead and play along with the track. So I'm looking for a B on the 3rd string, and it's at the 4th fret. So if we look at the shape, if you look at that PDF that you have, a 3rd string root note is this shape, right? So that's our B chord. And then if you look at exercise number 2, that exercise kicked off with this C sharp minor, and then went to a B chord. So different key, different function of chords, but the same 2 chords. Here, that C sharp minor is functioning as a 2 chord. In exercise number 2, that C sharp minor is functioning as a 6 chord, and the B is a 5 chord, where here the B is the 1. So if you don't know the theory, don't worry about it. Just realize that you've played these shapes before. So this B, we look for a C sharp on the 2nd string, and it's that same one that we did in exercise 2. C sharp 2nd fret, use the 1st string open. So if you're looking at the PDF and you're trying to figure out where that 1st finger is, it's the string open. So this would be a C sharp minor chord in 2nd inversion, because the 5th is the lowest note. So that's going to be our C sharp. Now we look for an F sharp on the 1st string, because we're trying to stay in this neighborhood. So 2nd fret, we play the appropriate shape for that. It's that one. Now we need a G sharp minor. So if this is F sharp, G sharp, if you're looking at your neck diagram, hopefully now you're starting to make these relationships about half steps and whole steps. So if this is F sharp, G sharp is up a whole step. The appropriate chord shape with the root on the 1st string is this. So that would be a G sharp minor with your flatted 3rd as the lowest note. So that B note, here it functions as a root, here it functions as the minor third. So that takes care of this neighborhood. Now where you move up, we find a B on the first string. Remember from our F sharp chord, a root note on the first string, it's that shape. So we're taking that F sharp shape we just talked about and we're moving it up. So that's our B chord, right? Now we need a C sharp minor. Here's a C sharp. It's that shape. Remember, this is our G sharp minor shape. So B, C sharp minor. Now we need an F sharp. You could find this F sharp on the third string if you wanted. I'm going to go back to this F sharp right here at the 7th fret, 2nd string. So the shape that goes with that is this D chord shape. So D, F sharp, so it's the same shape. You just have to know where the root note is. And then we need a G sharp minor. So a G sharp, if you look in this neighborhood, is found at the 9th fret, 2nd string. And if you look at the shape that goes with it, it's a G sharp in 2nd inversion, root, minor third, 5th. Now check this out. We slide this back. That's that C sharp minor I was just talking about. So this first finger disappears when we make this our root note. We slide it down. So that's a D. We're looking for a C sharp. So that's why that is open, because we're maintaining that relationship of the fingerings. So B, C sharp minor, F sharp, G sharp minor. Okay, now we look for a B on the 2nd string. It's that D shape that we were just playing for our F sharp. B at the 12th fret, right? Now we need a C sharp minor. It's that one we were playing down here, but it's an octave higher. So the C sharp is at the 14th fret. Play the appropriate shape from your sheet, which is a minor chord with the root on the 2nd string. And then we need an F sharp. I'm going to go back here and find this F sharp. You could find it up here if you wanted. You could take this chord and move it up. I'm going to move back to this F sharp at the 11th fret, 3rd string, so it's in root position. Okay, now this shape is how we started with this B chord. So we've just moved that shape up. And now we need a G sharp minor. I'm going to use this G sharp minor at the 13th fret, 3rd string, so this is in root position. It's that chord. Okay, so we have B, C sharp minor, F sharp, G sharp minor. All right, so I'll turn on the track, and remember, we're just going to play along. We're going to hit each chord once in each neighborhood, and then we move. And we're just going to keep cycling through that until the track ends. So remember, we go through that B, C sharp minor, F sharp, G sharp minor. We cycle through that 12 times, and it ends on a B chord on the 13th time through. So we're just going to start low, come high. We're just going to work our way through those neighborhoods, just hitting each chord once. So let me get the track ready, and we'll play through it. 1, 2, 3. Move up. Move up. Down. Okay, this time we'll start high, but we're gonna stay in this neighborhood twice. Go down here twice, 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 and then we're gonna end up back up here. And when we end up back up here, we're gonna cycle through that twice. So twice, twice, twice. I think that leaves us, so that would be 2, 4, 6 times through. Okay, that's good. So twice, twice, twice. We stay here, and now the pattern is gonna change and we work our way back up. So let me show you what I mean. We're gonna do this arpeggiation, and we're gonna go 3rd string, 1st, 3rd, 2nd. So it'll go like this. Change chords, change chords. Do that twice, and then you move down. Do that twice, move down. Do that twice, and then we stay here. Now we double the pattern with the right hand. So it stays the same, it doesn't change, but we now do this. Repeat. So you're gonna have to be, you're going to hang on a chord, a triad, longer because you have to finish the arpeggiation. So you have to really know where you're going to get into the next chord in time and not break the pattern. So these triads can seem really kind of easy, but doing stuff like this is really quite challenging when you're playing all the way through a song, either live or in the studio, and you just have to commit to this part. So it is a pretty simple concept, but the application is usually harder than people think. When I'm working with guitar players at the studio that have, good technique and knowledge of the neck, and they can play solos and stuff like that, move around, we'll work on exercises like this, and it becomes apparent to them pretty quickly how challenging it could be to make these moves in time and then transition to the next part of the neck and pull it off again. So this definitely ups the ante a little, but it introduces another concept about layering guitars. And if you're playing in a band with another guitar player, or you're in the studio, or if you're just playing with some friends, the idea of what I call like staying in your lane. So if you're playing with another guitar player, maybe there's a keyboard player and an acoustic player, there's all this stuff going on. You want to pick a part that you can develop and add interest and create something compositionally that helps the song move forward. So playing that simple arpeggio pattern, like maybe you do that in verse 1. Maybe you do that in verse 2, and then a chorus comes along. Maybe in verse 3 would be the move you make to play this more complicated right hand thing, because just doubling that pattern without increasing like the rhythm from 8th notes to 16th notes or anything, just by having that pattern go through the track more instead of giving it space to breathe, it's gonna have the effect of the track kind of feels like it has more momentum. But really what you're doing is you're just playing that rhythm throughout. So it's a really smart way to play, and it's very effective. And when you start getting this stuff under your fingers, you'll start to hear this stuff more and more in recordings. So if this doubling of the rhythm and transitioning is hard and you're stumbling a lot, that's okay. Simplify it and either go back to the original thing and then work on it gradually on your own. Remember, that's kind of the idea of this course, is to provide these concepts with being functional with the concepts and not just throwing some stuff at you and like, oh, here's the triads and you can do this, but to really get you to commit to practicing and working this stuff out across the neck, because it's really useful and it's more challenging than people think, and we want to close these gaps in knowledge and skill. Everybody has to work on this stuff. So don't be frustrated by it. Use the information, use the backing track to your advantage, and practice this with a simplified pattern. Play it without the recording or slow down the recording and then try the full arpeggiation. Do it gradually. This isn't something that you'll probably just be able to whip out. So don't worry about that. I just want to show you the concept so that you can work on it on your own and be more self-sufficient. So let's jump into the track. Remember, we're going to start high. Twice here, twice in this neighborhood, twice in this neighborhood. Stay there. Double the arpeggiation. Twice, twice in this neighborhood, and we'll end up here. 1, 2, 3. Repeat. Move down. Here we go. All right, good. That's a pretty challenging one. You're having to make a lot of quick moves with the left hand because you have to finish the arpeggiation before you move. So you definitely have to know where you're going and what shape you're playing. So again, don't get frustrated if that is super challenging. Take it slow. Practice outside of the track and just do it on your own really slowly and make sure you're playing in time and you're getting to the right shape. So let's go ahead and move on to the 12/8 exercises because I have a couple things here that I want to present as well. Okay, so for this 12/8 example, we'll do this kind of feel. We'll start low and work our way up high and then back down. So again, we'll twice in this neighborhood, twice here, twice here, twice here, and down here. Now, we've talked about this a couple times before. Just because you're playing, it could be even a bar chord or it could be these triads. Just because you're holding the strings down doesn't mean that you have to hit them all. Depending on the style of music, depending on what's going on in the track, especially on the top 3 strings, that top string can get kind of bright. So in this track, I wanted to use this as an example of I'm just going to hit strings 3 and 2. Now, I would imagine it's going to be easier for you to hold the whole shape and not try to alter the shape. So what I mean is this. I'm just going to hit strings 3 and 2, but you can still hold the first string, just don't hit it, or try not to. If you hit it, not a big deal, because it's the right note. It's going to be a note in the chord. And also what I'm going to do is what we talked about earlier in one of the lessons, where I take my right hand and I'm using this part of my right hand and I'm just resting it on the strings. I'm not doing anything weird with my hand. I'm not like pivoting. I'm just taking my hand. I tell my students, try this, like just take your hand away from the guitar and just drop it down. That's a good place to be. That's where my palm is going to be. And then I'm muting. If you over mute, it's going to get really clicky like this. And you're going to lose the pitch, the tone. You'll just get that percussive thing. So play around with backing that off a little. See how it locks down? I'm not pushing really hard, and I'm just trying to control. I'm just trying to get a light mute so the pitch comes through, but things aren't ringing. So if I'm down here and I have to play a part like this, and I think about my chords, right? This was our C sharp minor, this was our F sharp, and then our G sharp. Because I'm playing just strings 3 and 2, I would probably reimagine the way I finger the chord. If you're pretty comfortable with the triads and this stuff is making sense to you, this would be kind of, I think, the deeper next level to start playing around with. So we're taking these simple triads, and it's kind of deceptive because we're doing something that's a little harder now, but it's with just 2 notes, because you have to reimagine the shape that you're playing, and you might make different choices with the fingering. Let me show you what I mean. If I'm down here playing this B, I know that C sharp minor is coming. I might reach down like this. And the F sharp, I wouldn't bar. Here comes my G sharp minor. Instead of doing that, I would just put those 2 fingers down, because that's in my G sharp minor shape, but also it's in my B shape, so I can stay there. So coming off this G sharp minor, I stay there for the B. Now, I know this F sharp is coming, so I might think about, okay, how am I going to get off this? I would probably do something like that, because I want to make a pretty smooth transition. You could even do this. That's my F sharp chord. So I could go B, C sharp, and then just put that finger down. You can work this out any way you want. You can come up with a different fingering that works best for you. Like if this is my B up here, I would do this. My C sharp minor instead of that. I'm doing that trick again. Here comes my F sharp, right? Fingers 1 and 2. Instead of that, off the F sharp from my G sharp minor, I could put those 2 fingers down. And then I'm here for my B. So it might allow you to simplify or use common fingerings. It's something that you would have to work out. But it does make for a smoother transition, because you're not having to make these big moves. And the more that you can hold down a common fingering, or at least one common tone, usually the smoother the chord transition sounds. So if I'm up here for this B, I might do this, and then I put these 2 fingers down for my C sharp, and then I could just bar for my F sharp, and my G sharp's this. The reason I can bar for my F sharp is, remember, if I'm playing this and I'm not playing the first string, I can do that. So look how easy this transition can be. If that's my B, just fingers 1 and 2. C sharp minor, bar, and that's my G sharp minor. And then I'm back to, instead of doing the full triad. So it's definitely worth playing around with. If you've been playing for a while and you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense, let me try that. You'll probably still stumble around, but you'll get into it, and some light bulbs will go off and some things will click. If you're new to this, that might just feel like too much. Like I can't reimagine these shapes right now because I'm just trying to remember what shapes I'm supposed to be playing. That's fine too. Just work on the muting and go ahead and hit all 3 strings. Just try muting all 3. We're just going to pick down. And if that transition seems too fast getting from chord to chord, you could do something like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, pause, and then change chords. Allow yourself some time. You don't have to keep frustrating yourself and stumbling over the same mistake and committing to sabotaging yourself. It's better to simplify the pattern and get the change in time. If you're playing something really cool and fast, but you're stumbling at half the time, it's going to sound like a big mistake. If you play something really simple, but you're making the changes in time, it's going to sound great. So playing in a more simple way is usually the best way to go. You're looking for something that you can pull off consistently. So let's jump in with the track, and I'm going to hit strings 3 and 2. I'm going to mute. I'm going to kind of work out my fingering as I go. I'm not quite sure what fingers I'll use yet, but I'll figure it out as we go through the neighborhoods. We're going to start low. This neighborhood 2 times, 2 times, 2 times, 2 times, back down here. Okay, so let me get the track ready and we'll go for it. 2, 3. Okay, so at the end I just decided to go low, so you could have gone high or stayed there. Okay, now let's do a jab thing. So we'll go back and play the track again, and we're just going to do this kind of thing where we go 1, 2, 3. So we'll make the transitions. Let's see if we can go through, since we have some time to kind of think with the rest in there in the short jab. Let's start high, and let's do it once in each neighborhood. So we're just going to keep cycling through until the track ends, and we'll just do those jabs. Okay, good. One of the things that I want to say is this stuff is simple, but it's not easy. And don't get frustrated. Don't beat yourself up if you're not doing it consistently. This stuff isn't easy. And having the knowledge of the neck, learning as you're going how to not just like understand a concept, but how to apply it, not just memorizing shapes. This gets people into trouble a lot where they'll memorize a shape, but they don't know where the root note is. And then when they start trying to have to jump keys or introduce new material, they start doing some kind of weird mental math like, well, this -2 + 3 third string, and the more steps you add to the mental process, the more likely you are to make a mistake because you're just thinking too much. You just need to know where the root note is and what's the right shape. And it happens all the time at rehearsals or in the studio. A song, the key of a song gets changed on the fly. So if you're doing something in one key, the artist or the producer might be, hey, let's try it down a half step, or let's try it down a whole step, or like that's just how it goes. So you want to be able to make sense of this information quickly. Again, it's a fairly simple concept, but it's not easy to just do all the time or consistently. So having you move through this stuff the way I have is to try to get you to get realistic about really knowing the neck, how to utilize these concepts, and to feel comfortable with either strumming, arpeggiating, or doing these jabs. Repetition is key, just like anything else, like getting better at a sport or anything else you're learning. The more reps you get while you're doing it, and doing it consciously, not just like going through the motions. That's, if you've noticed, the last couple exercises have not gotten more complicated or harder with the material, but I've been moving around the neck more and not letting you, stay in a position 4 times through the progression. By taking the information that we've worked on and then having you move through it faster and move around the neck, will show you where your deficiencies are and what you know and don't know. So instead of getting caught in the middle ground of frustration or kind of beating yourself up, I tend to personally look at things like this, and I try to encourage my students to look at things like this. Either you know it and you can do it, or you can't. And the middle ground is where you don't want to get stuck. So if you could play through a song, which if your role in a band is doing this kind of stuff, this might be the gig. This might be what you get hired to do for 90 minutes a night, is like doing these jabs or these triad arpeggio things on every song. Like, if you can do that on a whole bunch of songs, man, you know it and you're good to go. If you feel like you're kind of stuck in the middle or kind of back here, don't get frustrated that you don't know it, and don't beat yourself up, and don't go internal. Just look at the backing track as an opportunity of, okay, I'm going to sit here and do this over and over and over until I get it and I don't miss anything. You don't have to move around the neck as much as we just did. If that is hard for you, stay in one position twice as long or 4 times as long. Just get the changes, and then when you move, know where you're going. So I push things pretty quickly in these last couple to just kind of hopefully make you feel a little more uncomfortable, or make you feel like, oh wow, this is happening pretty fast and I thought I knew this, but it's getting harder. Exposing those things in your right hand technique is pretty important to sort out, because those kind of guitar parts are really pretty common. So again, use the backing tracks to your advantage. This course is designed to present information and concepts, and then you work at it at your own speed, but that you have an understanding of what you're doing and not just jumping around on YouTube at random videos. And there are a lot of courses on triads, and I think people can get kind of falsely comfortable with what they can and can't do, because when you start having to play this stuff a lot or on the fly, that's when you're going to be exposed. So the idea is for you to work these things out now and close those gaps of skill and knowledge. So have fun with it, be patient with yourself, play with the backing track over and over and over. Built-in redundancies are always good in your playing. So be kind to yourself, be patient, and we're going to move on. We'll do the last exercise, number 10, and I'll get that ready and we'll get going. All right, see you in a minute.